Great day everyone, and welcome to the show that we've been talking about for many months now. Finally, it has arrived. Picture this, your guide to photography. I'm Seun Akisanmi and I'm going to be your host along the way, and I want you guys to stay tuned to this channel every Tuesdays and Fridays, okay, as we bring you a fresh and inspiring episode of this show. First of all, our goals, I need to really be clear. Our goals is to raise the standards of professionalism in the photography industry. A few years back, I realized that there were a lot of photographers coming into the industry that don't know how to start, what to do, especially with regards to the business of photography. It's one thing to have a camera, it's another thing to run a photography business. Hence the reason why we started a show like this. Okay, the second reason for this show is actually to increase the awareness and appreciation of photography in our society. See, gone are the days where a child will tell the dad or mom, "Dad, I want to be a photographer," and the dad or mom will slap the child. And once, by the end of 2012, a 3-year-old child could tell the dad or mom, "Daddy, Mom, I want to be a photographer like Seun or Shola or Kike or Lara." The goal is to increase the awareness of photography. So with the episodes that will be showcasing as time goes on, these are the areas we'll be addressing. Okay, so stay tuned and we'll be right back. Welcome back. At this junction, I feel it's important to explain that not every episode will contain all the segments that we've planned. Okay, in the previous upload, I explained that we'll be having, for example, a segment we call Photographer of the Week, Photo of the Week, and we have our photo facts and different segments. And you need to know that because we're trying to make it a short, program, not all these segments will be packed into one. For example, we'll be having, come Friday, the Photographer of the Week section, and then maybe whatever else we need to discuss also. So I'm just trying to let us know in advance so that you are ready. So in this episode, we'll be talking about what we title Starting Out in Photography, and I'll be giving some tips for a lot of photographers that are coming afresh into the industry. And my first and foremost tip for every new and fresh photographer in this industry is this: do not get a camera. Okay, yes, you heard me right. I said don't buy a camera yet. This is one of the first major mistakes that I feel a lot of photographers make. They feel once I've gotten this camera, which at this stage we are in the revolution of photography, a camera is easy to get, is affordable, especially the digital camera is affordable and easy to get. And most people, once they purchase a digital SLR camera, they feel, now I know everything about photography, now let me conquer the world. But they're about to find out that what they thought was a stepping stone actually becomes a stumbling block. Okay, this is the reason why it's so. Most of us were not taught in the university how to actually run a successful business, how much more a photography business. So if you ask me, I'd rather you get a mentor first before you buy a camera. it's important you get a mentor, somebody that is already a photographer in this industry. If you are talking about the photography industry in Nigeria, there are at least 20 great photographers that we could reckon with, 20 to 30 minimum, that I'm sure you've heard of their names, you know. So if it means writing them, talking with them on the phone, associating with them, applying for an internship program, even if it's for 1 day, 1 week, 1 month, if you ask me, I usually recommend a minimum of 3 to 6 months. Associate with someone you consider a mentor before you buy that camera. Besides, considering the fact that this is an industry that you know little or nothing about, don't assume that even the camera that you are getting is actually what you need. You never can tell. At the end of the day, after buying that camera, you realize that you've actually wasted resources. So take my word for it. Don't buy a camera yet. Now you might be wondering that you've already gotten a camera. What can I do? Well, my advice to you is this. Just sell the camera to me. Yes, sell it to me. Okay, I'm just kidding. But really, if you've gotten your camera, it's still important you look for a mentor, because what it takes to really make it in this industry is way beyond just getting a camera. So that is my advice. So the next advice that I will give you for those that are coming afresh into the industry is this. And this is, should in case you don't happen to find a mentor, somebody that you can, you know, talk to or work with on an internship basis, or, you know, learn from. This is this: try to get books on photography. I had this challenge when I was starting out in 2006. There were little and very few people that I could actually, you know, call my mentors. I was fortunate to find, you know, about 2 people then. Someone by the name of Makati. Thanks, you know, Makati, for showing me the way. And then Yomi Sifre, the main photographer at Sifre Studios. Thank God for these 2 guides and mentors that really helped out then. But beyond what they offered me, beyond the tutelage they provided for me, I still got books on photography that helped me to better lay a solid foundation. Okay, so at this junction, I really would recommend getting books on photography if you don't have access to getting the hardcover books, because that is one of the challenges we face in Nigeria. There are actually little or no bookstore. They actually sell a lot of these books. And in a way, you can't really blame them, because a lot of us photographers in Nigeria, we are more likely to spend 300,000 naira or $5,000 to buy a camera, but to buy a $20 book, you know, we wouldn't. So you wouldn't blame a bookstore seller for not stocking up on books, you know. But in case you're not able to find all these hardcover books, you could just, you know, download ebooks online. I'm sure there are a lot of places you could get, you know, all these ebooks. Download, even if you could just go to Google, search "I'm new at photography" or "learning photography," and the resources that will come up. But at this point, there are at least 4 books that I feel it's a must. You must do whatever you can to get these books before you get that camera. In fact, if you don't have any money to get this book, sell your camera and buy these books, and you'll be glad that you did. The first and foremost of all the books is the book that has transformed my life. Interestingly enough, this book has nothing to do with the topic of photography. The title is Outliers, and it's written by a guy by the name Malcolm Gladwell. Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell is the #1 book I would recommend. Not just for people starting out, in fact, for every professional. If you call yourself a professional, if you've been in this industry for a while, every professional, every business owner needs this book. Starting Outliers, okay, by Malcolm Gladwell. Okay, so the second book that I would gladly recommend is a book titled Teach Yourself Photography, and it's written by Lee Frost. Teach Yourself Photography is a very good book. Comes with a companion DVD, and it's, you know, especially if you're someone that learns very well when you read, especially if you're someone that learns well when you read on your own, this is a good guide to helping you. Even if you have a mentor also, reading this book will be a good companion with whatever great mentor you have. So this is the second book, Teach Yourself Photography by Lee Frost. All these books, by the way, could be gotten on Amazon.com, which is where I get all our books and all our resources, by the way. Okay, the third book is a guy that has really been a blessing to me. John Harrington is someone that I have not met in person, a mentor of tens of thousands of photographers, and he wrote this book, The Best Business Practices for Photographers. I got this book about 4 years ago, and it was one of the books that helped me to lay a very solid foundation in photography business. Okay, so the title again is Best Business Practices for Photographers by John Harrington. Do your best to get this book. The last but not the least is a book written by one of the oldest photographers of our age. Come to think of it, I'm not sure if the guy is still alive, but his name is Tom MacDonald, and the title of the book is The Business of Portrait Photography. The Business of Portrait Photography. It's a great book that showcases the top 10 to 15 portrait photographers, well, as at a few years back anyway, and gives us an idea of their business models, how they run their businesses, how they do their marketing. So do whatever you can to get this book. Besides, this book is written by a photographer that has been in the business for over 40 years. Can you imagine? The guy has been running a photography business even before I was born. So learn from his mistakes. Don't repeat them all over again. Tom MacDonald, The Business of Portrait Photography. Once again, like I mentioned earlier, all these books can be gotten on Amazon.com. So sell your camera, do whatever you can to get these books, and that will help you on your way to becoming a true professional photographer. So by now, once you've gotten a mentor, you've gotten training in photography, you've gotten these books to start with, the next step that I will advise then will now be to get a camera. Okay, I'm saying this because by the time you read some of these books, you at least have an idea of the type of camera that might fit the type of photography that you actually want to specialize in. Once you've gotten the training, you realize that it was actually a good thing that you didn't buy the camera in the first place, because that's when you learn that some of these cameras have prices that are more than your child's school fees or your annual rent or mortgage payment. So it's important you really know what you are dealing with here. Even for the students that come through our training program, at the end of the training program we still give them books to read, because with the rate at which information is coming afresh and new into this industry, you really never can know everything. So it's important you keep yourself up to date. So once you've gotten all these things, get a camera. And at this junction, this is where people ask me, which camera should I get? A very good question. Which camera should you get? That is the question of the century. When I started out, I asked my mentors then, Yomi Sifre, and I asked Makati, which camera should I get? And guess what their answers were? Their answers were actually different. Okay, when I asked, Yomi Sifre, for example, the guy is a fan, a great lover of Nikon products. That was over 5 years ago. The guy is still in love with Nikon. He probably hasn't used any other camera apart from Nikon. And he told me, Seun, if you are really serious with photography and you really want to make it, make sure you get a Nikon camera. Okay, I listened to him, noted it down, and went over to my other mentor, Mr. Tony McCarthy. Mr. McCarthy, which camera do you think I should get? And he told me, Seun, if you really want to make it in this photography, make sure you get a Canon camera. Come to think of it, Canon was his favorite camera then, and I can still remember when I was talking to him about getting a camera then. I remember that particular scenario. He was actually cleaning about 3 of his Canon cameras, so the question of which camera to get was an easy answer for him. Told me to get a Canon camera. Yomi Sufre told me to get a Nikon camera, and then I sat down and thought to myself, is it true that the camera that people use, the name of the manufacturer, whether Canon or Nikon, is that what determines how successful you'll be? Knowing the type of person that I am, I decided to go against their advice. I can just be stubborn sometimes, I wanted to prove to these people and also to test out that, okay, if I don't use Canon, if I don't use Nikon, I should still be able to make it in photography. So I settled for a camera that none of them recommended for me, Olympus. And I think if Olympus were to come to Nigeria right now, they will consider me as one of the major owners of Olympus, cameras. But the point I'm trying to bring out of this is the answer to that question, which camera should I get? And the answer to the question, like I answered a few uploads back, it really depends. It depends on your taste. It depends on the camera manufacturer that you're in love with. And my main suggestion is for you to visit a site like dpreview.com, Digital Photography Review, www.dpreview.com. And this site provides independent, non-biased reviews of every camera that has been manufactured for the past 6 to 10 years. And sometimes, even for Canon manufacturers, you could place 2 cameras side by side and compare. It's a site that gives you more technical information than you will ever need. Okay, so that might be a good place to start, but I wouldn't come here and tell you that, okay, Canon is the best, Olympus is the best. I know some people that could kill for Canon and they'll tell you, look, if you are not taking pictures with Canon, you've not started. But I tell them, many times when the picture is seen as a great picture, how many people look at the picture and be like, wow, I bet you use a Canon camera, or I bet you use a Nikon. Most people just appreciate the beauty. Okay, so if you're trying to settle on the camera to choose, go to DP Review, do some researches, depending on your style of photography or what you want to specialize in. And whatever you conclude, whatever is comfortable by you is the right camera to get. Especially the camera that fits your budget. It's really important, it fits your budget. One other thing you should consider when getting a camera, it is really important to get a camera that your colleagues or your mentors or that people around you have. For example, it was not necessarily a very wise thing that I decided to choose Olympus then, because at that point in time I was about the only person that I knew using Olympus cameras, and we had people in Nigeria repairing all these digital cameras, and most of the repairers only were experienced with Canon and Nikon. So I was placing myself at a hot spot. I was putting myself in a corner, because if I had any issue at all with my Olympus camera, literally I was on my own. So if you are going for a Canon camera, it's important to decide that I'm choosing a Canon because I know 1 or 2 people that have Canon cameras. So if anything goes wrong, I could lean on them. If I need a Canon lens, I could ask them out. If you're going for a Nikon, the same thing. Of course, by now a lot of people decide to choose Olympus cameras because they know someone like me that has Olympus cameras, but like I said, it's okay to have everything. Presently we have Olympus and Nikon camera, and we are considering getting a few Canon because I just like getting used to all the different cameras. So there goes the answer to that question: which camera should you get? Whichever one fits your budget, whichever one most of your friends are using, and whichever one is comfortable with you. So that's it for today's episode of Picture This. Stay tuned till Friday where we continue on what it takes to start out in this photography business. Till then, if you have any questions like I mentioned earlier, any questions whatsoever, feel free to send us an email at picturethis@eloPhotos.com, and we'll not only incorporate it into the show somehow, but we'll get back to you as soon as possible. One more thing that you do for me, if you like what you've seen so far, do me a favor and let me subscribe, right? The button is right on top there. Subscribe to this channel. By subscribing, you become one of the first few people that gets a notification once we upload an episode. So subscribe to the channel, share the program with your friends, like it, if you really like it. And if there are things that you feel we're not doing too well, please email me, please, okay, at picturethis@eloPhotos.com. Tell me what you feel we could do better. Any help whatsoever you feel you could offer, let us know. Let this be a partnership like I mentioned earlier, and together we'll help build a better photography industry in Nigeria. Stay tuned and keep taking those pictures.